Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. Today we're going to be doing a quick unboxing. Well, it might not be too quick because there's a lot of stuff in these boxes. This is Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor by Nemesis Games. This is an all-in Kickstarter pledge featuring some dice packs and an extra box from the Armory. This game was delivered to me by the actual creators of the game. William over at Hungry Gamer, my good friend, he introduced me to the creators of this game and they were gracious enough to give me a copy to be able to do an unboxing and a full playthrough for you as well. This is a 4X cooperative game set in a fantasy world that's kind of run down. I guess you could say it's a post-apocalyptic fantasy world. That'd be the best description of it. You're going to try to get out of this world and try to survive it. Meanwhile, you're going to be having to deal with both the Imperial Legions and the Chaos Hordes. They're going to be trying to stop you from completing what you're hopefully going to do, and that's try to survive. This is a point-based game, so I'm excited to show you what's inside these boxes. And if you're excited to see what's inside, then I need you to meet me at the table. The first thing we're going to do is check out what's inside the core box of Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor. We're going to get that good old cover off and be greeted with most likely the instruction booklet. Nope, we're going to be greeted with a bunch of punch boards and a safety notice. This can contain small parts. Don't let your children eat them. Fantastic. So here are all the little punch boards that are going to go along with this game. Oh, we've got a lot of stuff here. Oh, it's amazing. All right, let's go through all of this. First, we have our rule book. Super excited for the way this rule book is built. It is built spiral bound, so you can just leave it open on the table and your rule is right there you need to look at. Instead of having to try to page through it and then hold it open while you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to do with the game, I'm a huge fan of spiral bound rule books and books in general that are spiral bound that are for games. Oh, this is so good. We do have our quick reference sheets here. They're very well laid out, and not only that, it tells you what page number you can turn to in that rulebook to find out a little bit more about certain parts of each of these stages of the game. I think it's a really cool way to do it instead of having to go like reinforcements, look and see where it is in the page through. Nope, it's right there on 22. You can go ahead and take a look. On the back, they have the combat sequence order. It tells you exactly how to go through combat and what to do with all the different terrain. Really well laid out. I'm super excited to dig into this game. Okay, now basically what you are is you are a group of people that were kind of enslaved by this Imperial Legion group, and your goal is to start an uprising so that you can survive. We're one of the last pockets of humanity in this world. You're also going to, of course, be attacked by the hordes of chaos that are driven by their hunger. And so you need to try to be able to counter both of these different factions that are coming at you all at once. And the goal of the game is to make sure that you, as a group, have more victory points than both the Imperial and the Chaos. You have to keep both of these different factions at bay. It's a really cool system, and it's a lot of fun to play. I did get a chance to work with the creators of the game to actually play a couple rounds with them on Tabletop Simulator, and I had an absolute blast, which is why I'm super excited to get this to the table. Our punch boards consist mainly of the resource tokens for the game and also the different map tiles we're going to have that are going to be laid out for us as we're playing through the game. You're going to go around and you're going to unexplore these and things are going to happen on them. Each tile is going to have something different and each one is a different type of terrain. For example, these are going to be kind of the mountainous terrains. We also have the ice howls. There's also the forests as well. Here we have forests, and as you can see on these different terrain pieces, it's going to show you kind of what's going to happen when it's revealed. It's going to show you the type of terrain, what type of resource you can have if you decide to put one of your havens here, because as you explore the map, you're going to want to explore and you're going to want to conquer these different places and be able to put down your own homeland so you can gain the resources of these places. Right here, these different white things, it's really cool. You cannot walk through this. So the way the map is laid out is always going to be different, and even though they're going to all be the same type of places that you're going to put down, they're all going to look like this. Being able to navigate the board is going to be really difficult because some places you just can't go. If this is down on the map, I can't go in this direction and I can't go in that direction. It's really a cool system. I like the way that they did all that. So all the punch boards that I have are all built on that same thing, are all different parts of the board and also the different tokens used for the game as we play through it. So here are all the different ones. Of course, we do have even some other neat, cool looking ones. There's so many different, vast majority. There's just an astronomical amount of things that could happen in this game. And it's always random because these are always going to be put down unexplored. It's going to be really cool. All right, let's go on. I'm just going to unfold half of this map for you so you can see a little bit about what is going on in the map. As you can see, all this is going to be covered with those tiles. There are a couple things down here that help you with certain aspects of the game, and they even have a place for a Druid card on both sides of these. These are cards that are going to be placed down during the game that you can use to create that you can activate special powers and things. This right here is your point track. It's going to be going up and down, and that's really the board. It's just a big square board that is really neat to uncover everything, and it's cool. You might not even see like most of the stuff in the game as you're playing through it because there's such a large amount of stuff. Now, of course, you're playing with more players, the more of the board will be uncovered, but a solo player may not see as much as other players. The next thing we have is our chapter board, and there's chapters 1, 2, and 3, and 4. You're going to be playing through all 4 chapters. It does have a quest deck, and there's going to be 3 quests usually put down on the board that you can complete, and those are again going to give you some rewards for your factions. There's also the market over here, and right here again it tells you exactly how to go through each part of the game. They do a fantastic job of laying out each little part as you go through the refresh phase, the event phase, the build phase, action, Nemesis, production, scoring. It's just great. I love the fact that it's all right there on the board ready for you. The last board we have is our Imperial and Chaos Graveyard board. As you lose characters to certain factions, it's going to make these factions more powerful. So you have to be careful of what you're attacking and when you're attacking, because you don't want these to grow in strength more than you're able to hold them off. Continuing on, there's even more of these punch boards, and they're going to have all the different factions right here. And they're, I believe, asymmetric is what they call it. Each one of these factions plays differently, and each one of these factions have like different strategies that you're going to want to use when playing. And right here are all the different types of units you can buy for your group, and based on the amount of resources it takes to buy them, the more powerful they are. For example, this troll costs quite a bit compared to one of the tribesmen over here. And again, it shows you all the different things you can do during your turn actions, and it has what they are and how to perform them. Down here it shows based on how many havens you have, what resources you're going to be able to use to get for yourself to be able to produce all these cool things. You can build walls and towers for your havens, protect them as they've come in. And every one of these places is a little bit different. For example, notice they need a little bit less in order to build some of these more powerful things. And of course, they need different resources. So it'll be really cool to cooperate on how to be able to use these resources among all of these different factions. I would love to play this 4-player cooperative at one point. I think it would be an absolute blast. The last punch board has just some activation tokens, a chapter token, and some more chapter tokens for the Imperial, the group that you have to deal with, and has one final place that you can place down on the board. These are all the different factions. It doesn't come with miniatures, but the standees for this game are really cool looking. Let me show you how this all works. So you get a faction, and you're going to take your faction, and this is all the things you're going to use for it. These are the standees, and they're going to go right into these neat little things here. I'll show you how it works. For example, we have this faction right here. This is the Duraka, and it tells you actually a really cool story about how they came to be and what they are. And down here it even shows you there's 80,000 people with the Elder Leader type. They have the Society of Clans, the Way of Life Hunters, and Gatherers. So it's cool that each one of these factions has that. But more importantly, what I wanted to demonstrate was the fact that here are the different miniatures, or not miniatures, but standees. But they're these plastic standees, not cardboard, so they're really cool. So we have this guy here, and you'd put them all out here and get them ready to be purchased. And as you buy these, once they're off the board and you don't have any available to purchase, you can't purchase anymore. This is a finite resource. Of course, as they die, you'll be able to get a chance to come back and be able to grab more of them from how I understand. But we have like this giant elephant here. He looks absolutely awesome. And it shows you what dice he rolls while he's sitting on the board. And of course, you have it down here as well. So that's how these little standees work. And there's a whole bunch of them. Every faction has their own set of standees, and every faction has their own strengths advantages based on the type of units they're actually using in the game. I'm not going to go through every one of these because they're all very similar in style. They have that same bigger unit at the top, plus they have like a cavalry unit, and they have an archer unit and a main militia type unit. Most of them are very similar in style. There's just so many out here though. Okay, let's take a look at some of these more of these resource boxes. I'm a big fan of the fact that they have these type of boxes, so now I can put all the different resources in there. Wow, here's the havens. These are all the different places as you're going through the game. You're going to want to place down your havens. And these are going to allow you to get resources based on where they're placed on the map. So we'll put those to the side. More stuff. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what is in here. There's a whole bunch of stuff, including all of the neat cards and all the abilities that our factions are going to be able to have. The first set of cards here, these are going to be the feats, and each faction has its own set of feat cards that they can use. For example, we have the Yanni, the Hunter. These feats, you're going to be able to start with a couple, and then you're going to be able to gain them usually during the build phase of a chapter, usually once per chapter. And the ones you start with are going to say start. For example, this one says always add one die, any one die to any of your rolls outside of combat before rolling. So that's kind of their ability. It makes each faction become even more unique. This one's kind of cool because after you get this, you have to choose which side you want, and you're going to gain that benefit for the rest of it. Here's another start card. You can destroy this and discard this and destroy your Kolith to have it ignore all the skulls on an enemy die. And I believe that's the your elephant one, which is a very powerful one, so it might be something you might not want to do, but it might save you in the very end. There's a ton of these different ones, and you're not going to see all of them during your playthrough, which is pretty cool. So you can always play the factions over again and see some new feats that are going to pop out for every one of them. And one of the cool things about this game is there's only 4 factions, but there's 2 different leaders for each faction. For example, we could either use the Hunter or we could use the Wall. They're both from the same faction, and you get to choose your hero who you want to play, which is really cool. So there's a whole bunch of replay value just from the different heroes you can play. Next, we have a bunch of item cards that you can buy during the action phase. Each one of these items could potentially have a cost down here in resource. This resource is called salt. This needs 3 in order to get it. Some of these are going to actually have requirements. You have to actually have these ability. You have to have at least 2, and I believe it's leadership, in order to get this one for yourself. And once you do, you gain these powers. You can pay 2 resources to gain a lightning bolt before damage once per round on your hero's hex. So it's the first idol. Kind of cool. And it can be used by these type of units, which is kind of cool. All right, that's some of the items. There's a whole ton of these items here, and you're only going to see a fraction of these during your playthrough. And of course, 3 of them, I believe, are going to be out at a time that you can buy. We're moving into these bigger cards now. The first one we have are these quest cards, which are pretty cool. I'm going to explain how these work. Quests are super cool. There's usually 3 of them, I believe, out on the board that you can choose to do if you wish to. You can take like a quest action during your turn. When you go on a quest, you're going to roll your hero dice, and the heroes each get a group of dice based on their character that they're playing. For example, we have Hanzo the Traitor. He's going to get 3 guile dice, 0 leadership, 1 magic die, and 1 might. Of course, this is changing based on any items or feats you've gained through the game, and you're going to roll those up and compare the symbols to what is down here. And you need to either get 4 of these skulls, 1 of these shields, or 2 of the lightning bolts. And down here it tells me how many of these you have to meet. For example, this one needs to meet only 1. So you only need to roll 1 or be able to complete 1 of those 3 types of symbols there in order to get the solve group thing here, which would be the good side. Of course, if you fail, you're going to get the bad side, which is not good. Let's see if we can find another one here just to show you. For example, here's one where you need to complete 2 of these. So you have to roll them all up and hopefully get like a shield and 3 skulls, or a lightning and 3 skulls, or a shield and a lightning, and you would get the solve side. Of course, if you fail, then you're going to chaos gains 2 of these diamonds, then you can discard this quest. And quests aren't restocked until the beginning of the next round, or during the actual time that tells you during the game. It doesn't just automatically restart again. If your hero is on a hex with a curse, you get an orange die. So being in certain places are going to help you be able to complete some of these quests as well. So that's our quest deck. It's really cool. And since we've looked at Hanzo the Traitor, let's look at some of the other characters that we have as well. Here's the 4 different faction heroes, and on the backside is the other one. So just like I showed you with the feat cards, these are double-sided, and you can choose which one you want to be. Moving back to our group here, we have Yanni the Hunter, 1 on everything, and it gives you a little bit about the character itself. And on the back we have the Wall, who's a great leader but doesn't have very much magic or guile. A little bit of might, and again a little story about the person as well. Every one of these has a total value of 4, just split up all over their cards depending on what type of character they are. So we could either be this guy, the Destroyer, who's got 3 strength and 1 leadership, or we can be this guy, the Seer, who's got 2 and 2. So it's depending on what you want to be, you're going to get this card, and you're going to want to try to play to their strengths. During the game, you're going to flip over a card that is going to represent one of the chapters you're on. For example, we have Chapter 1. If I'm going to show a card, I'm going to show Chapter 1 because I don't want to spoil 2, 3, or 4. On the back, it's going to tell you something that has happened during this chapter and what is going to be part of that chapter. It's got a lot of different things going on this card. We have our threat. We also are going to have all these different rules that are going to affect that round or that chapter of gameplay. So the way this game unfolds, even though you think you're going in the right direction, the next chapter card could flip over and kind of change everything, and you might have to think on the fly on what you might want to do. We then come to some of our enemies. So the Horde and the Legion both have elite units or leaders, you could say, along with skeletons, for example, that are going to come out on the board. I think they're in there, and we'll probably see them soon. Now, here's the 2 different examples of the people we're going to be fighting. For example, not only do we have those skeletons, we might have to deal with the Lich Queen. The Lich Queen has like these god powers here that they're going to activate, and they also have certain rules going along with each one of them. This is the initiative value that they're going to go in combat. Each one is a little bit different, the number that they're going to have to deal with. Also, based on the threat value of the characters or where they are in the game, it's going to determine what dice they roll. So the more dice they have, or the higher the threat, the more powerful the monster is. It kind of makes sense. And I'd hate to fight this guy to 7. Even rolling all these dice, potentially wiping out our entire civilization, which would be absolutely horrible. Of course, the Legion, Imperial Legion also has enemies as well. They have their own set of special powers, and they have their own set of dice they're going to roll based on their threat. So those are the 2 different enemy factions. Lastly, it shows you a chart kind of what the dice distribution is and what to expect. So you want to be rolling black dice if possible. Unless you're trying to defend, then you might want to roll the blue ones. On the back of those cards, they also have the most overlooked rules, which is pretty cool. So you can set these right next to yourself and make sure that as you're going through the game, you can look back at this every turn to make sure, oh wait, I totally forgot about that because it's a overlooked rule. That's pretty awesome. After showing you that dice guide, here are all the different dice you're going to see. In the game, there's a nice group of them. Plus, of course, I have the add-on pack as well. So I have an absolutely monstrous amount of dice. I'll never have to worry about that. Next, we have our tokens that represent our action points, and we have our victory point markers that are going to be placed along the outside of that board. And then we have one final tray here. It looks like it's going to have some of the upgrades for your own, what do you call those? Havens. We call them havens. And then we have our garrisons right here. These are where are going to be the enemies, basically the enemies' havens. And they're going to build up based on what happens in the game. They could become bigger and stronger and make these attacks more devastating. Here are the enemy faction standees. And here's what's this. Oh, this is more of the upgrading for our garrisons here. There's the top of them right here. They actually can grow up to 3 sizes high. Here are the chaos miniatures, or I shouldn't say miniature standees. And it's hard to say not miniatures because I'm usually playing miniature game, but these standees are super cool because they're made of plastic. I'm really excited about those opposed to all the cardboard ones I usually get. We do have a few other things here as well. These are the chaos ones are going to use these. These are curse standees. We're going to place these out there whenever we have to worry about curses. Curses are bad news. You don't want to deal with curses. Oh, I think the curses are actually in here. Yeah, they are. They're in there. These are threat trackers. This is what you're going to place along. I believe you're going to put them along the side of the different enemies you're fighting to show exactly where their threat tracker is and what damage rolls they're going to be making based on it so that you don't forget, which is kind of cool. At least that's one way I won't forget how to do things. Here's the chaos tokens or standees. They're right here. You can see them right inside there. I'm not going to open all these. I showed you kind of one faction. All the factions have and enemies are very similar in the way they are. They're just these cool looking plastic things. These are the upgrades to our haven. We can put walls around them, and we can also put on towers as well, which will give us upgrades when something actually comes to try to fight us. And that's all that's in the main box. Let's move over to the actual expansion to this. This expansion for Uprising is the Arch Nemesis expansion. It's also going to add some more heroes that you can play with in different factions. And we have our safety notice. Again, it has a cool looking rule book that again is spiral bound and gives you some new rules for the way that the game can be played. Because I'm sure, oh, look at this art book too. Oh, wow, look at that. That's really kind of cool. And it has a really, I'm guessing, a lore book in here as well. That's super cool. All right, let's dig into this. In this box, we're going to be meeting our arch nemesis. It's a way of coming to a climactic finish in your game. If you decide to not just fight a bunch of horrid enemies, you can actually play against one of these arch nemesis. And it adds a couple new rounds to the game that you're going to be playing through. It adds some more of these tiles, and it adds a new thing called omens. These are going to be added to the game as well. So we'll put those aside. These are just the 2 punch boards it comes with. Of course, we do have some new factions, which is really neat. So again, even more ways of playing. 4 new factions, each one of them playing completely different. So that gives us a total of 16 different heroes that you can play in this game. This is so cool. There's so many different ones. Look at this one. I get to move that dinosaur. Why would you not want to play with a dinosaur? Oh, this only has 3. Oh no, it only has 3 different people you can get. Oh, that's really interesting. So there's some really cool, I wonder what this one plays like with only 3. Interesting. And of course, each one has a backstory and it has a way of living and how it lives and what it's up to, which is pretty cool. Where are the dinosaur group? Was that these guys? I think it was, yes. They are Warlock leader type with only 8,000 survivors, and they have the way of the Dracorian, and it has an autocracy. Interesting. All right, I'm going to read through these and figure out which one I think is the coolest, and that's the one we're going to play with. And of course, each one of these has its own set of faction inserts here, and they all have their own group here. And look, here's the actual bad guys. These are the new ones. The Draco Lich. These are the Arch Nemesis. The Inquisitor. Oh, wow, cool. So we even got one from Star Wars. No, I'm kidding. It's not from Star Wars. But the Inquisitors were pretty cool with Star Wars. Here's one of the factions right here, and it looks like we have the other Arch Nemesi, the Nemesis. These are the ones for the Chaos player. Stormbringer, that one looks pretty awesome. And then it has the cards for them as well, and also it has the cards for the new factions. I'm probably not going to go through all these cards. You understand how they work. These are going to be more ability cards for each of the heroes, and then these are going to be the cards that have the heroes in themselves. Let's look at the hero cards, though. There's a special card here just for the Herd that has to go with one of the factions. Then we have some of the enemies for the Legion and a couple new enemies for Chaos. Looks like we have the King of Plagues, the Butcher, the Inquisitor, and the Stormbringer. So these were not actually the main villains that I was thinking of. Those are coming left. The Nemesis are in here still. These are the new heroes. We have Major Bulwark. We have Yavel the Oracle. Oh, these all look really cool. And of course, we have their stats right down here. So great leaders. We have Talak the Oathbreaker. Oh, these are really kind of cool. Okay, here are the Nemesis, I'm sure, right back here. The Empress, the Draco Lich, the Harvester, and the Kraken. Look at these. Oh, these are going to be oh my gosh. It always rolls these dice. It doesn't matter what the threat is. That's super cool. I might have to play against one. Oh, wow. I now want to play against a Harvester when he gets all the... This is ridiculous. They all roll all the dice. That's amazing. So that's what those big cards are all about. I don't think there's much left in here. Some victory point things. And then we have the different havens we can place down. And here's yet again another one of the factions. I wonder if the Harvester is in here. Okay, so it does have both the Nemesis standees and also some of those more powerful enemies as well. The last thing we have is this Armory Pack. It's just a set of items that you can add to the game to give you more variety as you play through it. And each one of these gives, they are very similar to the ones you saw earlier. It costs this to have 3 salt to get. Then, of course, this is what you actually have to have. You have to have 3 guile in order to play it. So you have to either have it to begin with, or you have to figure out a way to get 3 guile. These are very similar. When you get this, you have to place this under your hero card, and you get this extra guile, which is pretty cool. It's going to cost, I believe, 2 here in order to get the Blood Dagger. And that's about it. These are just a bunch more items that you can add to add even more longevity to the game. And there you have it. That is it. That is the unboxing for Uprising by Nemesis Games. This is the Curse of the Last Emperor. A 4X cooperative game. I'm super excited to get this to the table, and I can hardly wait to show you the playthrough. If you're interested in seeing a certain faction, please leave it in the description below, and I'll try to maybe get that as one of the factions I'm going to play. I'll probably play with 2 just to show you how it would work cooperatively instead of just running around with just a solo player. If you did enjoy the unboxing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when the playthrough for Uprising comes out. Also, please feel free to leave anything in the comments below. Not only do I want to hear what kind of faction you want me to play, but also anything else about this game. I'm super excited for it. Have you got your copy yet? Have you had a chance to try it? And what do you think of the game so far? I'm excited to try a 4X cooperative game. This is going to be super cool. I haven't seen too many, and I'm excited to get it to the table. As you can't tell, because I think I said it like 32 times. Well, there you have it. That is Uprising. Thank you again for watching, and if you're excited to see Uprising and anything else that ever comes up on my channel, then I need you to meet me at the table.